Hi, I am Vilma Kankaanpää, and I am presenting our research paper LemurLounge, lemurs individual level, group, and cross-species use of an interactive audio device in zoos. This research was a collaboration together with University of Glasgow and Blair Drummond Safari Park in Scotland. In this paper, we look into how lemurs in the zoo interact with an audio device, and we discuss how their responses differ. Most animals in zoos live in groups or multi-species enclosures. Yet, most systems for animals are designed either for a particular individual animal or are systems that are meant to be universal for the group of animals living together. In human-computer interaction, it is a standard to consider individual needs and requirements when designing interactive devices. In this case, the interfaces are adapted and customized for their users. While animals are widely considered to have personalities, and they vary in many biological aspects, the current systems designed for animal users do not consider this when they are designed for animals that are members of a group. So it is currently an open question of how to make technology suitable for group and individual needs and requirements when it comes to animal users. To study how members of a group of animals use computer interfaces differently, we conducted a study with lemur users. We approached this by studying how lemurs choose to trigger different sounds using an interactive device. We chose this approach because audio studies with primates have been common, but have shown to have conflicting results on what audios primates seek out and would be beneficial for them. Underlying differences between the studied individuals and species could explain these inconclusive results of audio studies with primates. We chose to work with lemurs, as audio studies have not yet been conducted with lemurs. To investigate the relationship with differences on individual and species levels and lemurs' use of an interactive device, our study responses to two research questions. What audio do lemurs prefer to listen to? Do lemurs' interactions with an audio device differ between individuals or by species? We conducted this study in a zoo in Scotland. We had 14 lemur participants who were on 3 different species: black and white lemurs, ringtail lemurs, and common brown lemurs. The lemurs live in 2 different enclosures. First enclosure housed lemurs of all 3 species, and the second only black and white lemurs. Both enclosures have indoor buildings and plenty of outdoor space with a visitor path through the enclosures. The LemurLounge device was first installed in one enclosure for 8 weeks, and then in the second enclosure. Our method had 3 study conditions. In baseline and post-exposure conditions, the LemurLounge device was not installed to the study location. First, in baseline condition, we observed lemurs' use of a dedicated location that the device would be later installed to. This location was called the interaction space. Baseline condition lasted for 7 days. After baseline, we installed the device onto the dedicated location during the audio interaction condition. During this 42-day condition, the audio device would play sounds to the lemurs when they enter inside the device. The device is triggered by infrared sensors that detect when a lemur is inside. The sounds that the device played were rain sounds, traffic noise, calm music, upbeat music, and white noise. In addition, we mixed in a setting where the device did not produce any sound. These 6 different audio settings were changed daily to mitigate any order effect. Yet, each audio setting played for 7 days during the study. Finally, after removing the device, we observed lemurs' interactions for another 7 days to see how they would use the location post-exposure. During each of these 3 conditions, we observed how often and for how long the lemurs interacted with the device, or how often or long they would use the interaction space in baseline and post-exposure. We also recorded video footage from inside and from outside of the device to recognize individuals and species. When analyzing the data, we did this on 3 different levels. Firstly, we looked into how lemurs as a zoo-level sample group use the device. Secondly, we looked at the data by species, and thirdly, by individuals. We studied how the 3 conditions and the 6 different audio settings affected lemurs' interactions. Next, I'll show a short clip of the different audio types we used. And then the results. In terms of interaction behavior, the lemurs as a group used the interaction space increasingly over the study. This means the median of their interaction frequency increased from baseline to audio interaction to post-exposure condition. Interestingly, the duration the lemurs spent in the interaction space was the shortest when they interacted with the device. In other words, they were using the dedicated spot, called interaction space, more frequently when the device was not in place. However, when we look at the duration of interactions on species level, we found out that only ring-tailed lemurs clearly used the space for shorter periods when the device was installed. Brown and black and white lemurs were found to increase the duration across the study, so there was no clear decrease for these two types of species. Additionally, brown lemurs interacted typically just for 2 seconds, while black and white lemurs and ring-tailed lemurs interacted typically for 4 seconds. We also found out that age was a factor. The older the lemur, the longer they used the device for. When looking at the lemurs' audio preferences, we found that the lemurs had no preference for a specific audio type. However, when comparing all audio to the silent audio setting, the lemurs showed preference for audio. Yet, when looking at these results on species level, the brown lemurs preferred silence, while the other two preferred the device to produce audio. We also compared how individuals triggered different sounds, and there are visible differences in what sounds they triggered the most or the least. We also compared the lemurs' interactions to white-faced sakis' interactions with similar device. White-faced sakis interacted with the device for more time per hour. Sakis were found to prefer traffic sounds over rain sounds or either category of music. Single interactions of both lemurs and sakis would typically be 4 seconds long. The results indicate differences for how lemurs interact with interactive devices on species and individual levels, and there are differences between primate families even when using the same interactive audio device, as we saw with the white-faced saki study. In this study, we saw that the group-level results change when looking at them, for example, by species of the lemur. This variance could help explain the disparities in primate audio studies. In studies where a system is designed for a group of primates, the group-level results just don't reflect the truth on the level of any single animal. This finding points out that we need the designs of technology to cater for the needs of each member in a group of animals and to consider factors such as age, species, and social dynamics. The challenge here is in how can we design customizable and adaptive systems for animals? Designing adaptive and customizable technology-based enrichment solutions for animals requires us to get better at assessing the animals' interactions. This could mean that we need to reveal what aspects of the technology, the animal's environment, and their life experiences cause the effects we observe. Even though we have results to look at, such that a lemur species prefers audio over silence, we do not know the full picture. There are a variety of underlying factors that could have caused the result, not alone the produced audio. For example, the lemur's interaction behavior with the device could have been influenced by its smell, social meaning, or its ability to provide shelter. Similarly, the device structure itself and the modality used to assess the animal's interactions can affect how they interact. Thus, it is a challenge to disentangle what factors affect the animal's interactions and what are their real intentions. The difficulty of understanding another animal's full experience also raises the question of how much the design of a device should rely on what are rather incomplete understanding of another species' experience of the world. We must continue exploring the differences, the trends, and the commonalities across animal species to understand better how we can collaborate with them in our design tasks. There is a need for designs that prioritizes the unique needs of an individual animal user. We recognize that universally designed devices might not benefit any single animal in the group. Yet it is a grand challenge since we cannot fully understand the animal's experiences and intentions. Fortunately, human-computer interaction can help guiding how to design systems that meet the needs of individual animals. However, we need to mitigate the human bias when designing systems for animals. This can be done by positioning animals as collaborators in the design process and letting them tell us, through their behavior, how they perceive a new device. In short, we suggest it's a new era in animal-computer interaction, where we need to shift our focus to the individual users who are members of the animal groups they live together with, so we can move toward designing personalized and adaptive systems for animals. In this research, we built and designed the first audio device for lemur users. We found that lemur species and individuals use interactive systems differently. Our findings point out that interactive devices need to adapt in order to cater the needs of all animal members in a group. Yet, this direction brings to question our understanding of other animal species' individual experiences. How much can we understand, and how well the level of understanding that we can reach can help us to design for the other species? It is an open question of what personalization of interfaces means and whether it is truly possible for non-humans and humans alike. Thank you for your attention.